Imagine trying to capture a $1 billion prize in a market where literally everyone wants what you sell, but almost nobody wants to pay a premium for it. That is the exact, incredibly difficult challenge Carrier is taking on right now. In this explainer, we're looking at one of the most aggressive, high stakes market expansions happening anywhere in the global cooling industry. We're going to break down Carrier's masterclass playbook for conquering the booming Indian HVAC market. $1 billion. That is the massive revenue prize Carrier is aiming to hit in India by the end of this decade. To put that into perspective, India is projected to be the world's absolute largest cooling market in the coming decades. You've got a rapidly expanding middle class, plus an explosion of infrastructure and commercial real estate. Basically, everyone is building, and everyone needs cooling. So this whole explainer is going to focus on exactly what it takes to win a $1 billion slice of this highly competitive, incredibly lucrative arena. Okay, let's dive into this. To hit that massive $1 billion mark, Carrier has drawn a very clear line in the sand with their positioning statement. Look at the specific words they emphasize: premium, reliable, energy efficient, and technologically advanced. In emerging markets, the default strategy for most companies is usually a race to the bottom on price. They slash costs just to grab market share. But Carrier? They're doing the exact opposite. They are absolutely not trying to be the cheapest option on the shelf. Instead, they're aiming straight for the top, making a fiercely audacious bet that there is a massive appetite for the most technologically advanced cooling solutions out there. To unpack how they actually plan to pull this off without getting undercut by cheaper brands, we're going to follow their playbook step by step. We'll cover 1, the billion-dollar ambition; 2, defining the target market; 3, the premium marketing mix; 4, sizing up the competition; and 5, a sustainable future strategy. Section 1, the billion-dollar ambition. Let's start with how Carrier actually views this region. India isn't just another demographic for Carrier to export a few units to. It's a critical, booming growth engine for their entire global business. While they do operate across residential, commercial, and industrial sectors, getting to that $1 billion goal by 2030 requires some serious ground game. They're treating India as a highly strategic market by massively expanding their local manufacturing footprint. And why is localized manufacturing such a game changer? Well, it allows them to completely bypass heavy import tariffs and dramatically speed up their supply chains. They are physically laying the groundwork, investing heavily to bring their world-renowned engineering expertise right into the local economy. Section 2, defining the target market. Now, this is where the strategy gets incredibly smart. Carrier isn't just trying to sell an AC unit to anyone who will buy one. They've made a very calculated, deliberate choice about exactly who they want to reach. The residential air conditioning market in India is fiercely crowded with budget options, so Carrier is leaning heavily into their massive B2B reach. They're targeting corporate and institutional heavyweights. We're talking outfitting massive office buildings, retail malls, hospitals, and pharmaceutical cold chain networks. But the real masterstroke? Their laser focus on high-growth data centers and electronics manufacturing plants. Think about it. Cooling a massive server farm isn't like keeping your living room chilly. It is mission-critical infrastructure where a single degree of temperature shift can literally cost millions of dollars in hardware damage and downtime. By smartly riding the wave of India's digital and infrastructure boom, Carrier guarantees highly lucrative, large-scale contracts. Section 3, the premium marketing mix. This is where we really get to see Carrier's tactical maneuvers come to life. They're taking the classic 4 Ps of marketing and translating them into an actual on-the-ground battlefield strategy. These 4 components build a highly cohesive premium ecosystem. For product, they offer smart, Wi-Fi-enabled, eco-friendly HVAC systems built specifically for the local climate. Their price utilizes premium value-based models. But let's look at place for a second. Instead of relying purely on everyday appliance retailers, they use direct B2B channels and extensive networks of architects and HVAC consultants. Because when you're outfitting a massive commercial hospital, you don't just buy an AC unit off a retail shelf, right? You rely on specialized engineers. Carrier is smartly infiltrating those highly specialized consultant networks. And finally, for promotion, they rely on an integrated mix of digital and ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance, marketing. So let's talk about their pricing strategy, because it takes a tremendous amount of confidence to enter a historically price-sensitive market with a premium tag. How do you convince a buyer to pay 20% more upfront? Well, you prove to them they'll save 50% over the next decade. Carrier justifies this initial sticker shock through extreme energy efficiency. If you're outfitting a massive data center, the upfront cost of the HVAC system is just a fraction of your long-term expenses. Carrier's pitch is laser-focused entirely on a much lower total lifecycle cost. The reality they're selling is that, yeah, you might pay a premium on day one, but their advanced technology saves you an absolute fortune in massive energy bills over the life of the product. And how do they communicate that highly complex lifecycle message? Through a very targeted digital marketing strategy. They aren't just blasting out traditional television ads shouting about seasonal price drops. Look at this breakdown. They allocate 30% of their digital efforts to search engine marketing and 20% to SEO and site optimization. But notice they dedicate 25% specifically to YouTube demos, because believe it or not, B2B buyers are just like us. They want to see the unboxing and the technical specs in action before cutting a massive corporate check. Carrier is utilizing these digital platforms to actively educate buyers, teaching the market the real financial value of long-term energy efficiency through deep dive product demonstrations. Section 4. Sizing up the competition.
Carrier certainly isn't operating in a vacuum here. They're up against some absolute giants in this booming economy, and the competitive landscape is intense. And this brilliantly illustrates the dividing lines in the market. On one side, we have Carrier, relying on their premium positioning and global engineering to dominate the commercial B2B space. Contrast that directly with a fierce local competitor like Voltas on the other side, who absolutely dominates the mass market segment through value-focused pricing and deep local appeal. You essentially have two completely different business models going head-to-head. Voltas fighting in the mass market is playing a high-volume, low-margin game, which can often turn into a pricing bloodbath. Carrier, on the other hand, is building a low-volume, high-margin fortress by sticking exclusively to their premium B2B strategy.
When we look at their raw strengths and weaknesses laid out here, a very clear picture emerges. We do have to acknowledge their weaknesses. Carrier has much lower visibility in everyday residential spaces compared to rivals like Daikin. And look at those threats. Price wars in India are notoriously ruthless. Low-cost domestic brands and rising raw material costs make Carrier's premium positioning a massive calculated risk. They are constantly vulnerable to being undercut. But they counter this immediately with their strengths and opportunities. By leveraging their massive commercial HVAC expertise, their strong global brand, and aggressively targeting the green building movement, they are perfectly positioned to basically outmaneuver the domestic price wars entirely. Section 5. A sustainable future strategy. Let's see how all this builds toward their ultimate goal. Carrier is future-proofing their billion-dollar ambition through robust ESG initiatives. But this isn't just them throwing around buzzwords for good PR. They are actively promoting low carbon emissions, utilizing green refrigerants, and championing indoor air quality. And here is the true insight. Their support for ESG and green building developers is actually a highly tactical moat. Massive government infrastructure projects and multinational corporations operating in India have strict, legally binding green compliance mandates. Carrier isn't just trying to save the planet. They're strategically ensuring they're the only vendor highly engineered and legally compliant enough to even be considered for these massive lucrative bids. Sustainability is, quite literally, their competitive weapon. You can actually see this playing out right now on their strategic timeline. They're heavily targeting high-growth data centers and renewables as we speak. But the massive physical proof of their long-term commitment is the 2025 expansion of their major manufacturing facility in Sri City, Andhra Pradesh. By 2027, their goal is to deeply localize their suppliers. Post-2020, we all know how fragile global supply chains can be, right? By localizing parts and manufacturing, Carrier entirely insulates themselves from global supply chain shocks, actively reduces their production costs, and massively improves their market responsiveness. All of these calculated steps are designed to snowball seamlessly into that 2030 goal of reaching $1 billion in revenue. Which leaves us with this final pivotal question. Can a premium, sustainable playbook truly win $1 billion in a notoriously price-sensitive market? Carrier is betting everything that the answer is yes. This playbook isn't just about air conditioning. It's an absolute masterclass in how premium global brands can win in emerging markets by refusing to compromise their identity. By focusing on long-term lifecycle value, dominating the commercial B2B space, and utilizing green technology as a tactical moat, they're proving you don't have to join the race to the bottom. So the next time you see a global brand enter a new market, ask yourself, are they racing to the bottom or are they building $1 billion moat? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.